Hi everyone, and welcome to our final Biology Daily Booster. It's number 22 and is the last one as far as the first paper goes. Now this is worth remembering that this topic is one of the advanced information listed topics for those of you doing foundation biology. So what are we going to be looking at today? We're going to be having a little look at the whole control of water level within our body. So we're going to kick this off with the idea about ADH. We're coming back to something we've mentioned earlier in B3, the negative feedback system, because we're using a negative feedback system to control the volume of urine we make. And the hormone involved in this is ADH, or antidiuretic hormone. And what ADH does is it makes the walls of the collecting ducts more permeable to water. If we look at our little flow chart here, then this shows us how it actually works. If we start at the very bottom, so let's start with this little box here at the bottom. We've got a normal water concentration in the blood. So the blood constantly passes through our body and the hypothalamus is taking readings all the time about it. So hypothalamus, a region in the brain to do with controls, remember. If we find that the hypothalamus detects a low concentration of water, so if it's too low, then the hypothalamus sends a message to the pituitary gland and more ADH is released. As a result of that, the ADH travels through the bloodstream to the kidneys and it makes the kidney tubules more permeable, so they reabsorb more water. As a result of this, the blood is restored to normal. As a side effect of that, obviously if we're reabsorbing more of the water into our blood, less is then going to go down to the bladder, so we make a lower volume of urine. If we go the other side, so this time we're going to have a high water concentration. Pituitary gland again is told to do something. In this case, it's told to release less ADH. Because there's less ADH circulating in the body, that means that we're going to reabsorb less water in our kidney tubules, blood returns to normal, and we make lots of urine because all of that excess water is then going to be filtered down into the bladder. So why do we really need to worry about this? Well, if we've got a situation where you've not drunk enough water, so we've got a low level of water in our blood plasma, then one of the things that's going to happen, aside from that, is that we're going to actually get this thirst response. So you start to get that feeling that you need a drink. So basically, we're sending this communication from all these receptors to our brain saying, go and drink some water. Now, if you ignore that signal and you just don't drink water, then you are at risk of dehydration. Now, dehydration can be quite serious. You get a lack of energy, headache, dizziness, you get this dark concentrated urine because obviously less water is making it to your urine. And if you leave this for a prolonged period, then this is where you can get damage to your kidneys, damage to your liver, and potentially even death. Now, by prolonged period of dehydration, I don't mean that you must be drinking almost continuously. So when your teacher tells you you're not allowed to have a drink in the science lab for that single lesson or even a double lesson, surprisingly, you're not going to get kidney damage or die, contrary to what some of you may believe. You are even unlikely to really suffer with the minor dehydration symptoms because in theory you had a drink before that lesson at break times or lunch times. At least I hope you did. Now, if we have an excess of water, so this is where you've got loads of water in your body, then there is the risk that you could actually have a blood plasma water potential that is greater than that of the cells. So what we can obviously normally do is remove that water through producing more urine. If, however, we can't do this for some reason, and one of the most common ones is using certain drugs, they inhibit this process, then you've got large amounts of water in your blood plasma. What's going to happen is it's going to move into your cells by osmosis, and they can burst in that process of lysis. Now that's not good. But in addition to that, what we're also going to see happening is the concentration of sodium ions in your blood plasma is also going to decrease. Now, sodium ions are incredibly important in terms of muscles and in terms of nervous control. So as soon as that goes wrong, that's quite serious. You can see seizures, confusion, muscle cramps, etc. And if that water goes into your brain cells, then it may end up in death once more. So the very last part of B3 and the first section of biology is looking at three terms that we associate with osmosis. Now, these ones you can see in things like sports drinks, just because they're talking about obviously giving you certain concentrations of things in said drink. They can phrase this in ways of practical tasks, so they could use these phrases as far as the different solutions in a practical and therefore what you could expect to see. So make sure you know these three definitions. If something is hypertonic, then this contains high levels of glucose and salts, whereas a hypotonic solution would contain only low levels of glucose and salts. Don't mix up the hyper and the hypo. Third one is isotonic, and that one just contains concentrations of ions that are equal to those in the blood plasma. So in theory, your isotonic solution would see no net movement of water between cells and the solution because they are the same concentration. Final thing then is head on over and have a go at the little quiz for today to obviously double check your understanding of today's work. If there are topics that you're still not sure on, then you can hit up the videos on the main channel just to go over that and reinforce it. Obviously use your revision guides, your notes, anything else that might be of use to you. Now, this is our last booster obviously, but don't forget that tomorrow night, Monday the 16th of May, we are going to be doing the live stream, going through everything from B1 to B3. It starts at 6 p.m. and I hope it will last about an hour and a half, but it will definitely be under 2 hours. Usually this one's about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes. Then we will have a return of the daily boosters for biology as of Wednesday the 25th of May, because that gives me enough time to do one on each of those topics running right the way through to your paper 2 exam. So a little bit of a biology break, but your others will continue, I'm sure you're pleased to know. So hopefully see you all tomorrow for the live stream, and if not, then I wish you all the very best in your first biology paper.